All right, welcome back as we continue with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, talking about the quarterbacks, and by all accounts, all of these gentlemen have been there and covered this. It looks like Mitch Trubisky right now is the starter for the Steelers. A lot obviously can change. But, Will, I want to ask you this. If Mitch Trubisky is the starter and he plays very well, exceeds what most people think, what does that do for Kenny Pickett this year and then moving forward?
I think it buys him time. I just think, and Popeye, we've been coming on, we were doing Zooms talking about Kenny for months. I mean, do I think Kenny is an elite quarterback? I don't know that he is, right? So to me, if you can get Mitch Trubisky to play at a Pro Bowl level at a bargain basement prices, and it lets Kenny not have to come in with great expectations. I would much rather be the guy after the guy after the guy than the guy after the guy, right? I mean, Mitch has going to be the one that's going to be the first. We're all going to write first Steelers starting quarterback other than Ben Roethlisberger, say, for 2010 since 2004 or whatever, right? So that's a lot to put on Kenny's shoulders. I'm fine if that was what happens. I'm fine with that for the Steelers.
I'm not quite sure if that was this going to happen. You know, we all saw Trubisky taking the ones, and everybody's putting him at the one, and rightfully so after these OTAs because that's what he did. But I think the Steelers have a really keen plan here of not really, how can I put this, put a lot on his plate early. They want him to learn how to be a pro, learn the playbook, Kenny Pickett that is, and have him very, very comfortable for training camp so he can go in there and make his best shot, his best pitch at it. Because if it's 50-50 to me, I'm going Kenny Pickett over Mitch Trubisky. I think we're all a little bit skewed of what we saw over these past month because we just saw Mitch Trubisky running the offense and assume he's #1. I think they're just bringing him along so he can have a fight here in August.
See, if it's 50-50 to me, I'm going with the guy who has NFL experience. And I would rather have him go in there, and if he fails, to bring Kenny in, as opposed to you start Kenny, and if Kenny fails, then you got to bring Trubisky in.
What if he doesn't fail? What if Trubisky does not fail? What if he has a really good season?
So if he doesn't, that means the Steelers are winning games. That probably means the Steelers are in the postseason. I'm calling Mitch's agent and saying, do you want to keep playing here?
I'd probably call somebody else next
say,
year.
how much can we get? What can we get for him, right? I mean,
you can't let a 20th overall pick just sit there and not give him a chance.
If you're winning games with the guy,
he's not that old either, Mark. He's 27, Trubisky. It's not like, I mean, he's been around, but he's not been around to the point where he's 32.
I mean, do you really think that we only have 3 preseason games? You got to figure it's going to be limited reps for Trubisky. Would probably have to throw, just in my opinion, like 4 picks and a half to not be the Week 1 starter in a preseason game. You think he's going to beat him? Kenny's going to beat him out in practice? I don't think he's going to beat him out in practice. Kenny would have to go like 17-20 for 295 and 3 touchdowns to leap over Trubisky in the preseason. And because of the limited opportunities, that's very difficult for me to imagine.
All right.
I was going to say that could happen, of course, but I think if you set him up like they did here in OTAs to give him that opportunity, why can't Kenny Pickett beat him out? Other than, I mean, you see what they do in the film room. You can see what they do on the practice field. He just goes out there and be able to put together a good game against Jacksonville. Then all of a sudden you're thinking, hey, we use a lot of capital on this guy. It's not bad to have Mitch Trubisky as a #2.
All right, I got to ask this. We only have a minute left. Jeff, to you. Cleveland's situation is very different right now because you don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson, although the NFL has to do something, and I think they're under a lot of pressure. I'm thinking it's going to be more than what people think as far as a suspension. And if it is, let's say 10 to 12 games or more, what do they do with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland? Man,
they went all in, and they alienated their starter. Now, I don't think Baker's an elite quarterback or a great quarterback, but he's a good NFL quarterback. How can they have him go back in that room with his personality? I just don't see that as a possibility.
How do you have him come back and say next year, Watson's ready to go and say bye again? What would be in it for Baker Mayfield right now? So
what do they do with him, Mark?
With Baker?
Yeah.
Try to trade him maybe? I don't know.
Hope for a camp injury.
I wouldn't bring him to camp. I wouldn't bring him to camp. I wouldn't bring him on the team.
The Browns know a decision is coming, and they still mutually decided to not have him be around during the offseason program. So to me, that's the Browns saying we're done.
And if I was the NFL guys, I would wait till next year to bring down any sanctions on Deshaun Watson, just so because
cost them more.
Yeah. They tried to pull one over on the NFL, and the NFL knows that and say, wait a second, only $1 million this year, 30-something next year. We'll take his money next year.
You can play now. Next year you're done.
Pop, I appreciate that you think the league is going to come down or should come down hard on them, but let's be honest, they didn't go after Ray Rice really until the videotape came out. Robert Kraft got a slap on the wrist. It's hard for me to imagine imagine that the league, with a guy that they're going to pay, what, $238 million is whatever that contract is. It's hard for me to imagine that they're going
what do you
to,
think?
without any
Give me a
criminal
number.
charges, it'll be less than half the season.
I still think times have changed from Robert Kraft 3 years ago to now. So I think you have to make an example out of him. I wouldn't let him play until everything's resolved.
I think at least 10 games. And meanwhile, Terrell Pryor sitting at home going like,
Tattoo.
Tattoo.
yeah.
Things have
College.
changed, Mark.
Yeah.
Things have changed. We got to take a break. When we come back, golf, PGA, Live. What's going to happen at the U.S. Open coming up? That's next.